Welcome to today's Fortra solution overview session. Today I'm going to be giving an overview of the iForms document creation and delivery solution. Today's session is meant to be a high-level overview, so if you'd like to see more after you watch, you can schedule a live demonstration with us where we can go more in depth into your business use cases. There are so many use cases the solution can solve. So there really is no end to how it can help your organization. Here are some use cases that are some common use cases that we work with organizations on solving their problems for the document creation process. Purchase orders, invoices, bill of ladings, packing slips, advance ship notices, statements, insurance documents, and insurance packets, letter generation, reports, instruction manuals, and also shipping labels are just to name a few of those. And then if you're still using the outdated AFP processes, iForms can help you replace those processes as well. So we can do some recreation processes inside of there. I'll talk a little bit about some of the trace options that we have. So if you do have a form that you want to bring in, you can do some of the tracing of those forms to streamline some of the ingestion of the forms into the application. But it's really nice from the process to be able to replace the old AFP process into more of a supported go forward modernization process. But also if you're using any outdated software as well, that you might be using to create forms. Now the iForms solution comes with a couple different components to it, right? Meaning that inside of our bundle, we have what we call pre-processing capability. So we can pre-process documents inside of the solution. So if you need to split, burst, extract email addresses from a database, we can do different things like that on the pre-process standpoint. And what I mean by extract like emails from a database, say that you're creating inside of your forms process, you need to split out a run of invoices. And then those invoices need to be individually created, but there's no email address associated to it. So we can actually take a set of data from the spool file itself or the database and then do a lookup on that information and then process that information to the iForms server to do the delivery mechanism on the back end. iForms has obviously the document creation portion of it where you can create documents and stuff with it, but it also has an assembly function. The assembly function gives it the capability to assemble other kinds of documents along with it. Examples being invoice creation, need to attach a picture to something of the product that's being sold. Another example would be invoice being created and we need to attach terms and conditions. Now, terms and conditions can be created directly with the document creation process, but in some cases, we need to assemble a secondary PDF that might be managed by a different department, which they put into an IFS directory or a network share somewhere for us to assemble and attach that as a back page. Now, a lot of people ask, where can we run this at? Can we run it native I? Can we run it on the Windows server? You sure can. This is a cross-platform product, so it can run native I, it can run native Windows, and it can run mixed mode. So you can run it in any one of those different modes. Now, people ask, what's mixed mode? Why would I want to run it mixed mode? Mixed mode is used for if the IBMI system cannot connect to the printer and get all the printer functionality. So you might want to use a print or use it in a mixed mode function to be able to do that. Or if you're doing high volumes of printing, you might want to offload that off your production IBMI system to a secondary server to be able to do those printers. Or again, like I said, if your printer driver does not give the function all the functionality on the IBMI as it would on Windows, we can do that there as well. Mixed mode, again, is also used for that processing. So if there's a ton of processing that needs to be done, and you want to free up resources on the IBMI, we can use that mixed mode functionality to be able to bring that server in place to do that. REST APIs would be another example. Might not be offload the processing, but I need to integrate with REST API capability. So you might bring the mixed mode server in for integration to do some of those REST API functions. All right, I'm going to give a short demonstration here of some of the solution. I'm going to go through technically, how we map data, right? So I'll cover a couple different ways that we can map data into the system. And then we'll cover some of the forms creation process here. And then we'll talk about some of the IBMI commands and some of the delivery functions on the back end as well. All right. So from a demonstration standpoint, I'm going to start with some sample forms, right? So as you've seen in the presentation in the beginning here, I talked about some of the different examples that we can have, right? We can do letter generation. We can do and letter generation either from spool file or from database driven fields. So it gives you some variety there. We can do shipping labels, so we can actually put barcodes and make shipping labels with all the different kinds of information on them. We can create invoices and put business rules in invoices and stuff like that as well. And then we also can do like bill of lading. So I use this as an example a lot because it shows the variety of things that we can do, right? Meaning that we can put logos on the forms. We can put barcodes on the forms. We also can do QR codes and stuff like that. So there's different things that we can do inside of here from that standpoint. And I'm going to show you the end result here really quick so you can sort of see this. So I'm going to hit this little play button here up on top. Our designer has a play button that actually gives you an output of the document. Now our output is a little bit different than everybody else's. We are generating a pixel perfect PDF. We're not creating PCL. We're not doing PostScript. We're doing a pixel perfect PDF, which allows you to print to a wider range of printers without having, a driver, functionality problems and stuff like that. So we can actually do those different kinds of documents like that and generate those pixel perfect output structures. So that's a nice takeaway from there is that it's not PostScript or PCL. It is a pixel perfect PDF document. Now, as you've seen here, I'm sorry about that. From this standpoint, you can see that we have barcodes and QRs and all that stuff, so you can actually create those different functions on the form itself. But to go back to the data processing standpoint, there's two different ways that data can come into a form, and one is via a spool file. So we have a spool file explorer where we can explore an output queue and download that spool file. And then what we can do is we can add boxes around or extraction points around different data sets. So in this case here, we can actually map out all these different areas on the form and then give them symbolic names on the side here to make it a little bit easier. So you can actually do different things like that from the data extraction template. Now this is a spool file. So when we bring that into the forms designer, it's going to load into what we call our document structure fields over here. So that now the nice thing about this, once we load those functions in there and why you want to give them a symbolic name is we can drag and drop them over very easily. So when you're creating those, you can map those out and put them in different locations on the form like these are here, and then move them around and adjust them as needed on the form. So you do have that capability from the spool file standpoint, or text file. If it's a text file, you can do that there as well. We have database capabilities, so we can actually connect to different data sources, databases on the IBMI or cross-platform. So we can connect to different data sources. From that standpoint, and then map out those different data sources so we can run any kind of query against those data sources or SQL statement against those databases to be able to get and retrieve that information back so you can use those as fields as well. So it's very very easy to be able to create, either from a database or from a spool file. Now you could do a mixture of those as well. So you could mix spool file and database stuff together if need be. So you could have a form that's database driven and then has spool file overlays on it as well. So you do have those different capabilities. Now, again, the designer has all these different functions up on top, as you see here from the different kinds of things it can do, barcodes and static text and dynamic text and so what we call sub-reports. Sub-reports are nice because this is a good way to, if I have a section inside the form that I need to be able to query a database on, I can actually use an existing query, or I can say, hey, I need to do a new report and I want to connect to a different data source to be able to pull information off of that data source. So it's really nice to be able to do those queries and stuff like that. And we can do expressions and stuff in there too. So there's an expression editor and stuff in there. And then you'll see here at any field level, we can do dynamic things as well or edit expressions. So we have expression capability to be able to put and to be able to, I'll say modify or if there's any kind of like business rule that you have in the organization, or if you just want to say, hey, if I see a negative number, turn it red or do certain things like that, or even flip-flop a logo dependent on what location it's coming from. So you might have different, in a lot of cases, we're in the shipping and manufacturing and distribution side of things, right? So there might be different locations that something might be shipped from. So you can ship and pull that information and then process it to the form to make it a very dynamic, structured form. Now, any of the information that you need to be able to adjust, you can right click and do properties or hit the, do the expression editor there. Or we do have this properties panel over on the right hand side that allows you to fine tune things. It's really nice to be able to fine tune things here. If I need to change something from, from 79 pixels to 80 pixels, I can just change it here instead of trying to drag it out. So very easy. And then you're already seen the testing section here where I can test the form and see what the output is with a data source and without a data source inside of it. So you can sort of see that from a quick and easy access to the form. We do have some trace options that we won't be getting into today, but we have trace options where you can load an image in the background and trace over the top of that image to be able to create those different forms. Or leave the form in the background and put the data over the top. So there are some different options there for you on those functionalities of the application. Now, one last thing that I do want to cover here is the capability around native commands. Native commands are very important to companies that we work with because they might want to embed this into their applications, into their screens, to make it an interactive process for users to create forms, to be able to do the forms creation process. We have what we call the IFM exec command, which is the merge function or the forms creation. And then we have the packet assembly command, the IFM ASM command. And then we also have monitors that you can monitor with for output queues. So if there's output queues you want to monitor, we can set up native monitors to be able to do that if you're not building into your application. Now, just to show you that command really quick where you can type parameters, if it's a database-driven spool file or a database-driven report or a form, you can do a report structure here, or I can do asterisk spool. And what this is going to give me is the spool file functions. So I can do spool file functions here and pass parameters to the to these different fields inside of here to be able to process to. Now, from an output standpoint, from a delivery standpoint, we do have different delivery functions inside of here. And let me prompt on this here really quick so you can see that we can do local, we can do IFS, spool, we can go to printers, and we can do email. So you can actually pass all those different parameters to the system as you're processing through the different commands inside of there. Now we do have REST APIs on the server side, on the Windows Server side. So if you do run it, like I said, the mixed mode functionality, you can use those REST APIs as well during that process. That is the end of today's overview demonstration. Thank you for joining me and have a great rest of your day.